Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists podcast, the podcast about all the nerdy things we enjoy. I'm Will, that's Blake, and today we're here to talk about some Critical Role, baby. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. I feel like it's basically a Critical Role channel at this point.
Pretty much.
It's such consistent content for us, but yeah, no, it's good to be here. Welcome all of you guys to checking out the channel. Hopefully you're a fellow critter, a fellow D&D fan. I do apologize for the junk in behind me because we just moved. We moved to a new place, and so naturally we just threw everything. But hey, this is, we just embrace the mess around here.
That's life,
That's life. Yeah.
But yeah.
But how are you today, my friend?
I'm good, man. So we're putting this out Thursday. I am just super excited to talk about this episode because of all the stuff that happened. So
yeah,
I'm good. I'm jazzed.
I didn't have internet till yesterday, and then the place where I'm living now, I have like one bar of cell service, so it's like really frustrating. But I know Will, I know you were asking several times about like, have you watched it yet? Have you watched it? We need to talk.
Yeah.
So finally got internet yesterday and watched it last night. Yeah. Other than that, I'm doing good too. Other than just living in a junk room,
getting the move on. That's
getting my move on, man.
I hate moving. I like getting into a new spot, but you're done with the worst part. The part you're at now, I actually like setting up, like trying out maybe like a new arrangement of furniture or stuff. I don't know if that's your cup of tea.
Yeah, it's got me thinking about other than like all the junk behind me. And I already told Will, by the way, that I had a hard stop because naturally like, and here we are like waxing poetically about our home design. But I told Will I really want to like I don't do any Twitch streaming, by the way. Will, by the way, does. He's awesome. You can check out his channel. Check out Bocce. Shameless plug. But I wanted to like Twitchify. Can you hear my dog freaking out, by the way? Probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
It's not a big deal if so.
We're good. Someone's at the door. We're not abusing our dog. So we love our dog. You're like, no one was thinking that you were, but there was a moment in the episode, by the way, where someone, I can't remember who said it, but someone was like, don't worry. Oh, someone was like, I don't hate children. And or maybe it was in the wrap up yesterday, and then someone was like, no one was thinking you did until you said that. So yeah. It was Luis saying that he doesn't have kids, but anyway, let's get back on point because we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
All I was gonna say was I've been thinking about how to like Twitchify. I feel like every Twitch streamer has like the really cool room.
Oh yeah, like the lights behind them and stuff.
I'm like, dude, I want a vibe. I want that. So in the comments. Let me know like suggestions, ideas, like, hey, buy this, I'm open to it. So
yeah.
I guess we should talk about what we're actually here for, which is
Critical Role.
Critical Role.
One last quick announcement before we dive into the recap and everything. If you didn't catch our last episode, just wanted to reiterate here, we are going to do a giveaway to celebrate reaching 1,000 subscribers. We're not there yet, so help us get there.
This is how out of the loop I am. I was like, did we hit it? Are we at 1,000?
We 5K, baby. No, I think we're at like 930, 940-ish maybe. So we're getting close.
Cool.
But so we're already going to go ahead and start plugging this giveaway. Once we reach 1,000, we'll figure it out then. But probably going to give away Tal'Dorei Reborn. Maybe that's going to change, but that's the most likely scenario. So just that's a thanks to you guys. And if you're not subbed, maybe we can, entice you with that. So sub. It helps us out.
Else. Yeah.
But other than that, I think I'm ready to jump in. Unless you had anything else.
No, I'm ready to talk about this episode. And if you're just tuning into the podcast for the first time, we do take about 15 to 20 minutes at the start just to do a recap because the episodes can be like 4 hours long. So we do a recap. We cut out that recap as an entirely separate video if you're just trying to get caught up. And then we do like our deep dive, like thoughts, reactions, whatever that immediately follows it. So if you're watching just the recap video, you can click the link below and get taken over to our full discussion of the episode. So having said that, and by the way, I will just give a disclaimer. I don't think anyone can hear it, but like kids are screaming in the background. Everything's going crazy over here. So if the mic picks it up, sorry.
You're good.
Having said that, let's talk about what happened in this week's episode of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. This episode was episode 26. It's called Hidden Truths. And there are some hidden truths that happen in this episode. This was a pretty amazing episode. It's why Will probably kept texting me, have you seen it yet? The episode basically opens up with the party being like, yeah, we're going to sleep for the night. Like, we're going to, we've wrapped up our day's stuff. Let's get some sleep. And Fern and Dusk have this really sweet moment of just swapping ideas on identity and past history. And they kind of talk about Birdie and Ollie, Fern's parents, and just the Feywild. And it's just like a nice, it's what you expect at a table of two players kind of bonding a little bit in character. And then, after all that's said and done, they're like, all right, well, good night. Well, this wholesome moment is very short-lived because then Matt says, I need everyone to leave the table except for Erica, which everyone's like, okay, what is going on? So they all leave. And Erica gets a mental message from, let me pull up the name because it was so freaking amazing in terms of the name.
Of the guy?
Sorrow Lord Zethuda, bearer of the lightless flame, grove captain of the unseelie court. And this person has bad dude written all over him and is immediately like, what's the status on your mission? And it's basically revealed Erica's accent, voice all changes. And she basically says, I'm still looking for the Callaways. I'm still looking for something called the Moontide Crown. And also says, hey, did you know that the Callaways had a daughter named Fern? We don't really get much answer there other than it doesn't seem like he is aware. But in typical bad guy conversation, he's basically like, get the crown and kill the Callaways, like in that line, and, beep, hang up on the phone kind of deal. And Erica looks down at this black ring that seems to be humming and tugging towards Fern's room. So it seems to be some kind of Callaway tracking thing. But it was a huge reveal because it seems like Dusk is not to be trusted. So anyway, everyone comes back to the table. They see actually Erica with like a look of concern, and they're like, "Oh no, something so sad happened to you." And it was just very sweet, very wholesome, because everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so sad. Whatever you went through, I'm here for you." And it's like, yeah, she just talked to her boss about murdering you guys, but no big deal, right? So you think that the night's over? Well, no, we have a dream for Imogen, and Laura Bailey's like, "Shoot, no, not again." And this time it's the dream has already progressed to the point of like the storm coming in. She sees the figure where like other figures jumped out behind this character in an earlier dream. It appears to be a woman with gray hair. There's not much of a description there other than looks evil is basically the best way to describe it. And dozens of figures step out from behind her wearing masks. And this figure speaks to Imogen in her mind and basically says, how interesting. And then all these characters rush at her and she wakes up. So the most interesting thing about this dream is when she wakes up, she looks out the window and she sees Ruidus setting, and it's like flaring. Yeah, it has like this bright red light coming off it. And then it subsides and calms in a very ominous way. So everyone gets up for the day. I should mention that Orm does steal Captain Xanis' spyglass from Fern, which not quite sure what he's doing with that yet. But in the morning, they're talking about, like, what do we want to do today? What do we want to do about this plan? And no sooner than they've left where they're staying, do basically a group of what appear to be thugs sort of fan out and surround them. And a dwarf who's missing his thumbs basically walks up, identifies himself as Tanvir the Rake of the Paragon's Call, and that they noticed them snooping around the Seat of Disdain, and they want to know what the heck you're doing. Party kind of tries to, they lie. They try to convince this guy, like, oh, that was your place? Like, oh, no, we were looking after this Quokka that, got stuck under your gate. He's not buying it. And basically they say, yeah, actually we're here for work for General Ratanish. Ashton's had a fight with him, and, one of the thugs is kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that fight. And Tandra's kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you guys know Ratanish. Okay, well, we're going to go find out how true this is. Like, if you really are here for work, and if you're not, then we're going to come back tomorrow and basically, beat you up, kill you, who knows what. So they leave. The party like basically freaks out because they're like, okay, now they're going to know that we're here, and it's going to be very obvious that, like, why is this group from Dressar now here? So they immediately start thinking about solutions. What do we need to do? They know that to get Captain Xandis to come pick them up, he needs 24 hours notice. So they know the time is ticking. And so they also know there's other things they want to do, like follow up on people that they know. So they decide basically, let's split up into a few different parties. Let's go check off a bunch of different things, and then we'll just go from there. So having said that, Ashton, Chetney, and Imogen head to the All Minds Burn Palace, which is this odd place where it's like a social place, but it seems to be where everyone's kind of like mentally ethernetted in to some kind of like group think system. Weird. It's very weird. And not only that, Imogen actually tries to kind of tune in herself and immediately detects a large staticky, painful sensation that causes her nose to bleed, and she has to stop detecting thoughts. But she detects something incredibly large beneath the surface, very ominous. And it's also here that they meet a friend of Ashton's named Justy. It's a red Asphura. Say that right? Asphura?
I think so.
Bird person. So yeah. And the person's like, Ashton, wow, it's been forever. And Ashton basically says, hey, we just need to know, we need a place to lie low because we have a guy that we're thinking about basically kidnapping, and we need 24 hours till our help arrives to take us out of here. Could we potentially stay here if we needed to? And Jesse's like, yeah, you could potentially do that, but you could also do the run, and that might settle things. And the run is basically a death race kind of run. It's not for money. It's not for prizes. It's basically, think of like a duel to settle issues. You do this Mad Maxian death race kind of run, and it's never fair. And Justy even says, like, we could lay some traps for you guys that would be beneficial to you guys and would basically help you win the race. So he's like, I like that plan. Okay, we might do that then. And naturally, I'm sure every viewer was like, oh my gosh, we're going to do this for sure now.
Let's go.
Yeah, so that happens there. Also, F.C.G. takes Ferd and Dusk to basically look for someone named Esmer, who was like an old contact when he was with Dancer. And in meeting Esmer, F.C.G. is like, hey, I don't know how to say this, but Dancer and everyone is dead, basically. And it's really this funny scene where they're like, hey, let's let him down easy though. I like your shirt, But Esmer basically laughs and is like, what are you talking about? I saw Dancer a month ago. Which he's like, wait, what? How could that even be possible? And suddenly, and this is a theme in the episode, F.C.G. starts to really question what he remembers and what's actually true. Esmer also mentions that Dancer had a new arm, a metal arm, maybe after whatever incident happened. And he basically says, you know where she might be? And he says, Esmer says, she says, you could check the inns. It's also where Imahara Joves is. F.C.G. remembers that they kind of hated each other and decides, yeah, maybe we should go check out the inns. So having said that, it's pretty much what happens in the first half. Do you want to talk about the second half?
Yes, sir. I got you. So we have the break. We pick back up, and we're picking back up with Laudna and Orem, who are like this third group that split off. And the first thing they do is go shop for some disguises, since they're basically, recognizable from the ball back in Drusar, and just they want to, be a little bit more discreet. So they go buy some clothes, and they eventually come up with this bit of Orem pretending to be Laudna's son, Georgie, kind of a callback to Orm doing the same thing in EXU
Nancy.
with Opal. Yeah. Um, so now in their disguises, they head to the Seat of Disdain just to basically stake it out and kind of see what they can discover. Um, During, they talk a little bit about the fight between Laudna and Imogen. She kind of spills the beans to Orm, and they talk that out a bit. But eventually, Orm just kind of does his stealthy thing and tries to see what he can see. And they eventually see three people come out on the roof, basically taking a smoke break. And one of these people is Armand Treshy. Meanwhile, the group of Ashton, Imogen, and Chetney, and also the group of Fern, Dusk, and F.C.G. are converging back in this area of Bassaros known as the Inns, which is basically like this big junkyard section of the city. Crawler parts, automatons buzzing around, heading there to head to Imahara Joe's. And they're basically discussing the Death Wish race on the way and if that's something they want to actually explore. So they make it to Joe's, they get inside, Joe lets them in, and Ashton says they're looking to purchase a crawler, which is, the little vehicle that they would use in the race. Joe says he has a couple of crawlers. They're not 100% like ready to go though. And Joe is immediately fascinated with F.C.G, as many people have been this campaign. So then there's a lot of talk about the crawlers. Do we need both of them? Should we just take one? What add-ons should we get? Because there's a bunch of like enhancements. You can get extra armor, stuff like that. So there's a lot of, table talk about what exactly they want to do here. And while they're still figuring that out, Fern asks Joe about her parents, since, that's where her mom said to meet them. And Joe reveals that, yeah, he's familiar with them. They come in all the time and buy these power sources, and Fern is like, yeah, those are my parents. And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, you look just like them. So they make that connection, and then Joe asks F.C.G, he's like, hey, did you used to run around with somebody named Dancer, because you look so familiar? And F.C.G says, yeah, I did. And Joe's like, okay, I knew it. Like, I remember back when Dancer bought you off that caravan. I almost bought you, but she beat me to it. You're grade A. And he's like, wait, what? No, Dancer built me. And Joe's like, no, I was there. You were purchased, grade A automaton, pre-divergence, probably from Aor. Like, you're super special. And this, of course, blows F.C.G's mind. Calling back to the fight, calling back to the moment earlier in the episode where he learned Dancer was still alive, and now he's being hit with this. F.C.G is just processing a lot. Right. And Joe also kind of spills some history on this type of stuff. He's like, yeah, back in Aor, they somehow figured out how to create these sentient automatons, but the technology was lost. But in recent years, these automatons have been springing back up at various places over the world. They then ask Joe, hey, when's the last time you saw Dancer? And he says it was about a year ago. Hasn't seen her since. And he also says that he would love to inspect F.C.G with his consent, just to learn more about this ancient, impressive technology. And F.C.G is open to this because he would also like to know more about himself, get some answers. But that's not going to happen right now, because for now, Bell's Hells has some more pressing matters. The party ultimately decides to buy one of the crawlers, not two, and they give him a down payment of, I think, 500 gold now, and the rest will come tomorrow. It's 1,000 total once Joe has finished fixing it up or whatever. So the party leaves, and they decide to find a new place to stay for the night, and Ashton begins leading them toward to a place known as the Undercarriage. But on the way, they're discussing Fern's parents, and Fern reveals that she has all these postcards from them, one even coming from Aor, and the party's like, what the heck? Aor's ancient. What do you mean it came from Aor? And so there's a bunch of discussion, and we gotta inspect these, and they do learn that all the cards are handwritten and in the same handwriting. Right. And I think Travis, I don't know if it was as Chetney or as Travis, but he was like, there's probably a code in there. Let's see if they hid some sort of code in these messages. So I think Laudna that night is going to sit down and maybe take a deeper look at them. But that's where the episode ends.
Man, yeah. So that's what happened in episode 26 of Campaign 3, Hidden Truths. Again, if you're checking out just a recap, click the link below for your for our full thoughts and theories, and share some of your thoughts and theories. So
Yeah.
Will, great episode.
Great
I
episode.
didn't even ask. I didn't ask that time. I just went straight to it.
We're evolving.
Yeah. Man, great episode, dude. The reveal, Erika Ishii. Like, I literally was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" I was like,
So
"What?
good, man.
Are you kidding me?" Like, I mean, I was even thinking like, man, this group's like really just in general. I was thinking this group's like really trusting. Like, it's very different, by the way, from Calamity, by the way, where everyone's bad. But yeah, I was like, this group's very trusting, and then like just coincidentally, I was like, no freaking way. Which has this happened before, by the way, where a guest character is actually, I'm going to say evil, but it could be she, maybe they, the Star Lord has like her mom prisoner or something. I don't know, but has this ever happened before?
No, not really. I mean, like, the answer is no, it hasn't. Where like the guest has been a bad guy. Now, there's some people that might fight me on little, but let's not be nitpicky about it. For the most part, no, that's never happened. Yeah, and great episode. I was super stoked. So many reveals, such a juicy thing to kind of dive back into. But yeah, that transformation, and it made everything so like it just elevated everything from the previous episodes. Because you and I were talking about like, why does it like she doesn't know anything? Like, is she just winging it by the seat of her pants? And I was like, I bet Matt at least knows what's going on. But yeah, this was all by design.
Foot in my mouth, because I was like, this feels so clunky, and I was kind of annoyed by it. I was like, come on, like, let's get some juice out there. And in hindsight, it's she is feigning ignorance.
Yeah.
The Feywild. It's so tiny whiny. Yeah. Which I just love how Matt and her are preying on the it's not a trope, but just like it's you guys will have to help me with what this is called, like in writing or like in story, but it's something that's assumed to be true, and you use that as like the cover for like, because everyone knows, oh yeah, the Feywild, like,
right.
We just all assume like this is how it is. And so I just love how that was the guise of what really was happening, which is and I guess also we can assume wasn't with the Callaways, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe she's deep
think
covered.
So I would assume that she's never met the parents. Yes, but I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, to what you were saying, like, there's so many levels that it worked on. That one where you're talking about like using the truth thing, but also the fact that when they're Critical Role D&D game, when they have a guest, the guest is obviously going to join them. It's not like Matt's going to run two different games the whole time. Like, here's what the guest does for 4 hours, or here's what you do. So obviously you have to integrate that person somehow. So it's like, oh, they were being attacked by these thugs, and oh, you're just, let's join up. Like, in some level you just have to accept that because it's D&D. And that's what happened here. But now we know, like, oh no, she was looking for them. Like, this wasn't just some coincidence that they ran into each other. Oh, how does she know Fern's parents? What a coincidence. So I like that, like, all that makes way more sense now. And not that it needed to, but it's just cool that it does.
I love that it does, because it's I mean, I said it last episode, it's too convenient. It's clunky story wise. It's what's it called? It's a bit Deus Ex Machina a little bit, in the sense of like, like, oh, how convenient. Oh yeah, and I know your parents. I'm like, oh wow, really? Wow, like, what a natural way to progress the story, and so it was very clunky for me. And now in hindsight, I freaking love it, man. Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is perfectly. Yeah, this is really nice. So on that note, I mean, presumably, and you'll have to help me too with like past episodes, like where the party leaves the table. I mean, I'm assuming the players do they watch the episodes? I mean,
I'm sure they have at certain times, but like in a situation like that, like, I don't think they're going back just to see like what Matt said. I think they like hold the integrity of the storytelling to not do that. But I did want to bring that aspect up, just in the sense of not them going back to watch the episodes, but they're all present on Twitter. There's like a big conversation happening every week. Like, people started freaking out at that Erica moment. So if any of the main cast, since they pre-record these episodes by at least a week or two, if they're tuning into the Twitter conversation, they're gonna know. They're gonna know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I wonder how they have,
well,
if anything, how they have tried to combat that.
Right. One dog's barking. It's because the pest control guy is here and he's spraying. Okay. All right. So, what I will say about that though is the party is also really good at indulging. Indulging, not the right word. Respecting like the state of the table, like the state of play, in the sense of like not metagaming. And we talked about this too on the episode. It was like around 15 or so at the heist at Hydroga's, where the party, Chetney was separate from the group, and the party had laid some traps for people pursuing them. And Chetney, obviously Travis is aware of this because he's at the table, but has Chetney ignorantly walk right in.
Yeah, home alone.
Yeah. And we talked about that as being just like a really cool, rather than, it's just a cool detail of a player, not trying to min max every single detail, but rather embracing the story a bit. And even some players at my table have watched some D&D and mentioned that of I like how they don't try to
metagame,
exactly. And also what I just said, just not always min maxing the crap out of every single thing. All that to say, I think if they are mindful of it, which I think it would be hard to be engaged in the CR world as a cast member and not be mindful of it, not to be aware of it, I think we won't know any different. I think they will still fully respect the table in that way. So I'm not worried about it.
I 100% agree with that. It would be so much cooler if that reveal happens at the table, where none of the cast members knew beforehand, because they're gonna freak out. So I don't know, because it's not like Matt could say, "Hey, don't look at Twitter," because that would tip them off to something was happening. They wouldn't know what. Right. They'd be like, "Why?" So, maybe down the road, or in the campaign 3 wrap up, if we remember, or just I don't know, the next 4-sided dive or something, they might bring that up. But I'm curious to know. But I would love to see the reveal happen in real time.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the show The Mentalist?
Clips on YouTube, man. I have full shows that I've Always Sunny, for example, never seen an episode.
Really?
I've seen not even one, but I think I've seen the whole show on YouTube basically. So The Mentalist is one, and then random movies like The Big Short, I've seen on YouTube basically from just watching clips. And then what happened?
So it's it's one of those that's beside the point. But there's this I think popular clip from The Mentalist of this prisoner who's pretended to have some sort of special he was a special needs, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. So he was pretending to be a lot not fully there when he was. And there's this scene where he transforms and he starts being fully he's no, I'm a sociopath basically. That's the vibes I got from Erica when she went from her happily doodly and then let's kill everyone.
Totally. Yeah, and I have seen that scene actually. Because I think they're talking about Moby Dick or something, but
I think so.
They're talking about a book he has or something. So I have seen that scene, and then it's also very. Oh man, I'm going to butcher it because now I can't think of the name of the movie. Richard Gere, Edward Norton, 90s movie where same premise. By the way, Edward Norton. Sorry for spoiling it, guys, but it was 30 years ago, so get over it. Edward Norton is a murderer on trial, but he has a split personality, and Richard Gere, his lawyer, who gets him off, basically goes a mental institution. Richard Gere recognizes him slipping and is wait a second, there never was a split personality, and the person, same thing, kind of transforms and is no, this is me.
Oh man, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, I can't think of the movie it's called though. But yeah, no, you're totally right. And then I loved how when everyone was coming back in, she looked at the camera and just smirked.
Yeah.
I was you devil, you. So
So good. And I can't wait to see how this unfolds. I mean, I think you maybe mentioned, or I don't know, but maybe, like, is this going to come to blows? And, like, they may, I don't know if they'd kill her, but, like, is this going to come to combat? Or is there going to be some sort of turn where, like, she is being blackmailed or whatever the circumstance may be, but maybe she really is, like, kind of decent at heart and maybe becomes on their side.
So let's play this out a little bit. We have no way of knowing, but I'm curious, like, timeline, if this is something that could happen in the next few episodes, or if this is going to be a little bit more of like a Dorian Storm, like over the course of, I guess this is her third episode, so it could be like in the next 10 or 15 for all we know. But presumably we know that her parents are coming to Imahara Joe's.
Yeah.
And that there's going to be some
like,
kind of reveal, right? I mean,
it's got to pop off then, right? Presumably.
Right. So, and just think about the shenanigans that are going to be happening here. We have potential death race. We have Paragons. If they do grab Treshy, they'll have Paragons call, after them. Then they would have, presumably, this guy, the Sorrow Lord, and Dusk after them. And there could be a lot of spinning plates here very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good thing the party's so good at carefully laid plans.
Right? Yeah. It seems. Yeah. I mean, it seems like a lot of stuff could blow up. Like maybe even tonight. I mean, I presume tonight might be the race.
Well, the race has to follow the abduction, right? Because wasn't that their plan? Like they were going to do the race to, like, wasn't the race like to, like, if there's like an issue, we can do the race to like resolve it or something? Or
I know what you're talking about. I'm not entirely sure. I thought that, since the race is used to like settle disputes and something, maybe that's how they could like get their in. I don't know though, but maybe it is like maybe that's how they smooth things over.
To be fair, it did seem like the party was fully clear on how it works, because even like I think Chetney was like, "Let's bet and get a lot of money from it," and then Ashton was like, "It doesn't even work that way. Like, what do you?" He's like, "It's fine. Okay, whatever." Yeah, I guess I don't want to get too into that because I still had more to ask about Dusk. If we can talk just for a second about, like, I'm having trouble, like. And for you guys who've read Tal'Dorei Reborn, I know there's some content in the source book on the Feywild and the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court. So we know that Fern's parents are in some way involved in the Seelie Court.
Well, we know they're like famous, famous in the court. So maybe
we could say like royalty-esque in some way.
Yeah. Important on the court.
How does the Seelie Court interact with the Unseelie Court?
I don't know. I don't know much about that either. I did see that it's not a black and white, like the Seelie Court's good, the Unseelie Court's bad. Like it's not that simple. So
okay.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I guess there's no point in just blindly speculating. Should have looked into this, but I didn't.
Can we talk about this? Yeah, well, I just watched it yesterday, so that's my excuse. Can we talk for a second about this guy's job title, though?
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, Matt, you just come up with the greatest names. Let me find it here. Sorrow Lord Zathuda, bearer of the lightless flame, Grove Captain of the Unseelie Court. I'm like, what's the lightless flame? Yeah. Sorrow Lord. These don't sound like very wholesome things, but
and they want to end the Callaway line.
Yeah,
that's the goal. And he didn't know they had a daughter, which is strange.
Which is super weird, right? Because hasn't the daughter been with Morgan? Hasn't she been with Morgan for 90 years?
Yeah. So I don't know. Very weird. And so to me, for whatever reason, the Unseelie Court has its beef with the Seelie Court, seemingly. Unless Sorrow Lord Zathuda just has his own personal vengeance for whatever reason. But presumably it's more political than that. And he wants to get rid of the Callaways. They want to end the Callaway line because they're part of the court. Do they want to add somebody to the court in their void that would be left? Not sure.
Even with that, the Callaways have been gone for years, right?
Yeah.
Have they been gone? You know what I'm saying? Like, because again, the whole timey-wimey thing. So, like, if the Callaways have been on the run and gone since Fern was a kid, why would you even care about the Callaways after all this time? Especially if you didn't even know they had a kid.
And were they on the run because of the fact they're being hunted by the Unseelie Court?
Yeah, I don't know. We talked about that in last episode of how cautious they were, and it seemed like they were on the run. And what the heck's the Moontide Crown, man?
Yeah, I briefly looked it up, and I think this is the first time it's been mentioned. Okay. So I don't think we know what that is. Y'all correct me down below if I'm wrong on that. But maybe it's just me reaching too far here, but we've got mention of a crown in an EXU. There was a pretty bad crown that had a lot to do with Fern specifically, and the Elminor and the Dark Fern. And are they at all related? Is the Moontide Crown like the answer to the Spider Queen's crown? Was that what it's called? Or does it have a different name? I don't remember. Spider Queen's crown works, but I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, it was called
crown.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, beside the point.
Yeah, these people, man, these gods sure do love their crowns, though. I mean,
yeah, for real.
I did, but no, I think you're spot on. I did wonder, like, okay, this is something that the Callaways took and ran with, presumably, maybe, and they've been like protecting for all this time. My mind immediately goes to like the highest form of like artifact, which is a vestige of divergence.
Yeah.
Though it's interesting that they couldn't, they had to leave the Feywild rather than, because here's what's interesting. You know, we know that Opal, you know, she's just chilling with hers. We know Marisha's character, I can't think of it, Voice of the Tempest. Keyleth is, you know, chilling with hers. I mean, she has the whole, you know, Shari behind her. But why did they have to leave the Feywild? Why didn't they have any kind of backing of anyone else who would sort of help secure it, protect it? I mean,
if they have it. But
yeah, if they have it, and maybe they even stole it. Maybe they stole it and, you know, they're on the run. They've been branded as outlaws or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many like possibilities here. So there's the whole line that
maybe the Sorrow Lord's like, it belongs in a museum, and he's, you know, trying to get it back. You know,
Travis is the voice of Reno, by the way. Full
really?
circle, yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of just gonna jump randomly here because I feel like there's so many things within this subject. I mean, so yeah,
it's a good thing we have 20 minutes.
That's right. So they have the crown. Or if they have the crown, maybe that's why they fled. But we also know from EXU that those postcards aren't from them. The postcards, well, if Dark Fern was telling the truth.
You and I are leaning that way. I will also say at the end of the episode when they were examining them, the implication I got was that it also still was fake, like from the grandmother.
Yeah, so for those of you that didn't watch EXU, the first one, there was a whole thing with Fern and Dark Fern and the gate from the Feywild. It was a whole thing. But one of the things this dark version of Fern told to real Fern was that Grandma's lying. Like, she's the one that wrote those letters. So if that's true, you know, how trustworthy is a dark manifestation of a character? I don't know. But I'm still leaning that way. So anyway, if that's true, then that's all lies. They didn't go save the world. Unless, you know, Morrigan used a sliver of truth to help sell her lie. Like maybe they really are on some noble mission. But maybe, aka hiding the crown or something, but maybe they're not. Like maybe they betrayed the Feywild. Maybe that's why the Unseelie Court wants them dead. And maybe Morgan's just too big of a presence, or, you know, just because her kids are evil doesn't mean she is. I don't know.
Right.
But so maybe they're up to no good. I mean, we do know that from Joe's, they were buying these power sources that were the same ones the Nightmare King was using. And
yeah,
we know the Nightmare King recognized Fern and like spared them because she was a Callaway. So is there any chance that her parents are working with the Nightmare King and maybe they're not great people?
That's where my mind went for sure. At first I was like, oh, what a coincidence. The Nightmare King has the same batteries. And then I was like, it's like that Joey from Friends, like the, when you get it like clicks for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same reaction I had, was that it wasn't, because we thought maybe the Nightmare King had like, oh, respect for the Callaways, you're good, I'm not going to kill you. But to me, like you said, the implication, the way I interpreted it, was there's some hijinks that they are in cahoots with, or at least, working shoulder to shoulder in some way. So, yeah, I think you have a great theory there. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm like shipping that 100%, but I think it's definitely a possibility. And not to go too long on this one subject, but the fact that he didn't know, back to the fact that he didn't know Fern existed, didn't know they had a daughter. That's strange, right? And so I'm trying to remember, I feel like Fern often talked about her room. Whenever she does talk about like time with her grandmother, I feel like she's always talking about her room, which maybe that's just,
right,
improving the first thing that comes to you. But maybe she was like kept away, like she wasn't allowed to just go do stuff in the Feywild. Maybe she was like always kept away to be hidden so that people wouldn't know she existed. And then we've often speculated, what is Fern's mission that her grandmother brought her to Exandria for? Maybe it was to hide her. Like maybe it was like, hey, it's getting too spicy here, like I'm gonna go hide you in Exandria now.
It makes sense to me. Where are my parents at? Oh, they're on a mission to save the world. Oh, yeah. Where am I going? You're on a mission too. Like, okay, great.
Yeah. I mean, there's something in the air there that we aren't fully aware of. And that at least is one thing that kind of makes it make sense. Because also from EXU, for those of you that didn't know, Fern's true memory of coming to Exandria was overwritten by like a false memory. And we don't really know why, but just a moment in EXU where Ashley rolled a natural 20, Abria described how like this memory was being pulled back and you were seeing like the truth of you and your grandmother walking toward Exandria, which like going through a portal basically. So why lie about the parents? Why lie about her true memory coming here? Like, I don't know, there's a lot of things that don't really add up, so I feel like there's something fishy going on, which maybe her parents are, not that they're evil, but maybe they're for whatever reason aligned against the Feywild's alignment, and so maybe that's why Fern had to be hidden and these people are chasing the Callaways. I don't know.
Yeah, gosh, man, there's so many like plot threads right now that it's like I just want to know which one's going to get pulled on first, because we still need to talk about F.C.G. and Dancer. Holy crap! And we also just touching on it for a second. We got confirmation that Ashton, because we had talked about the item from the museum, the Hishari item, the cult where the village was like wiped out or what have you. We got confirmation that his last name is Greymore because he's from the orphanage, the Greymore estate. He's an orphan. Didn't get much information beyond that, but feels like it gives some more credence to our theory there. But yeah, let's talk about F.C.G. I mean, Sam is so great, by the way. You could just see the pain of like, that's not what happened, and Jim just like, but seemingly an Aormaton.
I mean, that was my best guess up until this point, but pretty
I've been
much
saying
confirmed
that since day one for sure. That was that's all we ever said.
That's right. So pretty much confirmed, unless Joe is a liar, which I don't imagine him. Why would he lie? But I mean, I guess it's still possible, right? But so yeah, presumably an Aormaton, which would make sense for why he's so special and stuff. Like I think we briefly mentioned before, in part of campaign 2, they ran into one of these things, and it was pre-calamity. The Age of Arcanum technology was an all-time high. They achieved this robotic sentience, and that was lost in the calamity. But now some are springing back up because of a snowball effect of something that happened in campaign 2. So
So quick question then, for the last 5 years, these things have been springing up.
Mm-hmm.
Do we out of, like, from watching campaign 2, do you know what that was?
Yes. I mean, not like I mean, yes, but not like maybe
Okay.
not
See,
all the details. But like I said, there's
I was like,
I mean,
what's gonna be the reveal? I don't even know.
do you want me to tell you? It's not
Yeah.
okay. So
Well, just generic spoilers.
Yeah.
Campaign 2. There it is. All right, go ahead.
yeah, like mute for like 30 seconds because this won't take long. But and since you've watched Calamity, you've heard mentions of Aor and how that was visited in campaign 2, the ruins of Aor. So while they were there, they run into an automaton, thousands of years old and like out of commission, basically. I don't remember the exact details, but like they get him up and running again, and they eventually get him like fixed. And what's interesting is when he is fixed, he completely shifts in personality. Like when he was broken, he was one way, and then once they got him back fully restored, he was like a completely different person. Kind of like the Erika Ishii transformation in a way. He didn't become evil or anything, but like just completely shifted. And so the snowball effect is that they restored that one, like he maybe has gone on a mission now to restore his brethren. So that's perhaps why they're springing up in different places.
It's very Detroit Becomes Human-esque.
Ben, I haven't played that, but I've heard really good things.
Yeah, it's the same concept. Okay. Even down to like, them wanting to be recognized as citizens. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so presumably, maybe F.C.G was... I mean, who knows exactly how he came to be on that caravan that Dancer purchased him at, but maybe Aor has been hit by, people looting or something. I don't know. But presumably he's one of these Aormatons. And what's interesting is we know he's had all these issues, right? And sometimes F.C.G malfunctions and all of these things, memory issues. Is there a chance similar to the one from campaign 2 when he is fixed, when he is restored, is he going to change personalities, for lack of a better word?
Yeah.
I could see Sam doing something like that, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think to me, clearly that's what's going on with him with the malfunctions and stuff, is that he's not fully what he should be. So I feel like personality shift or not, I think there will come a time when he becomes true, like what he's supposed to be.
Well, we know he doesn't remember anything pre-Dancer. So it'd be interesting if he does end up remembering those things. And we also know like this sort of imposed life purpose, for lack of a better term, of helping people. So it seems like he's really questioning his identity. I wonder if that even would become, if you start to even reconsider that whole angle of, it becomes a little bit more, a little less wholesome and a little bit more, I don't know, jaded or cynical or.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a nice like mirror might not be the right word, but like maybe it's true. Like maybe he was like a soldier, like and killed a bunch of people. Like that was his original purpose, and so now kind of like to see the other side of that, he's this wholesome, like heals people, wants to be a therapy robot. I don't know. I mean, so many questions, and not the least of which is, what is Dancer's role in this? Did she block his memories intentionally, or are they just lost to the thousands of years and she didn't meddle? But now that we know, I think it was Esmer that was like, yeah, she's a huge manipulator, like she sucks. And maybe she did like intentionally block his memories. And I mean, she's at least alive, and I mean, maybe there wasn't any way for her to contact F.C.G, but we know that she hasn't. So I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on the fact that she's even alive? Like, what? I don't even know what to make of that.
Yeah, I think it makes sense in the sense of, everyone's dead, but are they? It does make you wonder who else may have survived. It doesn't sound like there was enough evidence there that everyone at least looked dead pretty badly.
Yeah, because Taliesin, when this was being revealed, Taliesin was like, Matt, I saw just a pile of meat, right? And I thought it was interesting that Matt kind of stumbled on his words a bit. He was like, yeah, like you saw bodies or something. So he wasn't like, I might be looking way too much into this, but he didn't say, yeah, you saw just piles of meat. Like he clarified that a bit and said, you saw bodies. So,
Yeah. Well, and Ashton wouldn't know which one's Dancer, so he wouldn't be like, I saw Dancer dead.
Well, if she's the only human, which she might not have been, but
yeah, I got the impression that the troop was humans and robots, but and I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's why Matt stumbled a bit. But beyond that, something you just mentioned about Esmer being like, she's a manipulator, whatever, he called it entangled. And then it being presented that Imahara Joe and her hated each other. And then you talk to Imahara Joe about it, and he's kind of like, yeah, like I wanted to be friends. Like I wanted to, but she was really abrasive. And so it feels like the evidence is lining up that Dancer isn't quite the Robin Williams-esque friendly creator. It's for the good of all, but actually maybe a little bit more, I don't know. I'm not sure.
And maybe all that Imahara Joe trash talk, for lack of a better word, was to prevent F.C.G. from seeing him and finding out his true origin. Because it's the first thing out of his mouth when he saw F.C.G. now. So if she did mess with F.C.G.'s memories at all, maybe that was a preventative measure. Like, no, Joe sucks. Like, don't ever talk to him.
Oh, okay. I really like that. Yeah, that's a great theory for sure.
Bro,
I'm so sorry, man. When did you get the Avalier shirt, by the way?
Oh, yeah, bro.
Dude, I want that.
I had to.
Bro.
I had to show my love, man.
Dude, sorry, I was like a super ADD moment. I was like thinking, and then my eyes trailed, and I was like, "It's a first night of Avalier shirt."
I am the first night. No, I actually, quick plug, I guess. The Critical Role shirts that I have are like my favorite shirts. Like they actually are like super soft, like my favorite material of like a standard T-shirt. So,
yeah, you go to the Critical Role store and use coupon code Pixelists to get. No, I'm just kidding.
If it doesn't work, you just try again.
Yeah. And then tweet at them and ask.
Yeah, be like, why isn't this working?
CR team's like, let's ban these.
Yeah, these things are annoying. Yeah. But yeah, so clearly, I'm not saying Dancer's evil or anything, but clearly she's kind of out for herself. It seems like she kind of uses people in relationships, kind of uses F.C.G. and or his brothers and sisters.
Right.
But yeah, to me, new arm because of the battle damage she sustained.
Right.
But the interesting question that I think we've talked about before is F.C.G. potentially the one that killed everyone and just doesn't remember? And maybe that's why she has made no attempt to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very Bastion-esque, by the way, from Overwatch. His origin story is he's basically a murder robot, like a soldier, and gets reprogrammed.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's an interesting idea for sure. It does make sense why she wouldn't follow up for sure. But I will say this: we got about 5 minutes, and I apologize for our listeners. I gave Will the hard stop today. Can we talk about Ruidus and Imogen's dream? It feels like this is the other like really big data point.
Yeah, I wanted to hit that too.
So, bro, something is freaking going on with this moon. Like we've talked about it so many episodes. It's flaring, after her dream. Who's this woman? Do we think it's her mom? I mean, do we think?
I don't know. I mean, we do have confirmation that she doesn't know what her mom looks like, right? I feel like that came up at some point. Like she never knew her mom. So it is possible that could be her mom, and she wouldn't have recognized
speaks into her mind like Imogen does with other people.
Yeah.
Um,
And like all these people fanning out behind her, like, are these all Rudis-born people that have been
snatched.
like become part of whatever the hell is going on? If it's using Rudis-born people for a power source or for whatever, maybe these are other Rudis-borns that have been like amalgamated into what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And no, we know they're wearing masks, but no seemingly identifiers of like type of mask, any kind of like deity symbology. I mean, it's so much up in the air. This is like such a slow drip of information.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel like this is the most pressing thing, like macro-wise story for Exandria and Campaign 3 as a whole. I just want to know where we're going with it and like what the heck's going on with the moon.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely a longer overarching plot thread. If not whatever is happening here ending up being the big bad. If not that, I definitely think it's like this is going to continue to be a slow burn. We might get some answers, but you know, we might end up on that moon somehow and later in the campaign. But yeah, I have no ideas. But clearly, the fact that it was flaring is what enabled that empowered dream. Like the fact that she actually heard someone speak to her and like they got closer. I think it was because of the flare as opposed to just, you know, her normal storm dream. Like things are getting more intense as Rudis approaches its zenith or whatever. But I really don't know what to make of it or really have any good guesses as to what the hell's going on.
Can someone go to a library and like tell us when the zenith is? Like,
I think they know, right?
2 episodes from now.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I said like wasn't it like a couple of weeks or like a couple of months or something?
Yeah, I think so. Like it was
it's in
approaching
the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want like an exact date, and that will be August 15th episode. You know. So yeah, it's very unclear. And I think Matt had also said in the previous dream that that she sensed like evil. Like these are pretty blatantly evil people. Which I think it's interesting that he just got that out of the way. Like, yeah, these people are evil.
Yeah.
So,
what's going on?
All right. Well, I know there's like some other micro details. Like I wanted to talk about Tanvir the Rake and his poor thumbs. Like what's going to happen there, and like what's the group going to do? Like I mentioned a second ago, we're unfortunately out of time because I told Will I had a very narrow, like 1 hour window, unfortunately. And I also apologize. We're always recording on Thursday, and I feel like it's always shenanigans on my end. So. All that to say, we'll be watching tonight. So,
yeah,
I'm glad we got it recorded though.
Yeah, me too. And we're on all the podcasts platforms now. So if you enjoy to consume this that way, please check us out there. I don't think they all even have like reviews or whatever. But if they do, you know, if you want to slap us a review, that wouldn't be upsetting.
Yeah, Apple Podcast does. None of the other ones really matter, honestly. In terms of, like,
well,
reviews.
if you use Apple.
So
throw us a review. Tell, you know, it doesn't have to be 5-star. Just give us what you think we deserve. It's like your
hopefully
podcast has been removed for excessive 1-star reviews.
Not only are they terrible podcasters, but horrible human beings.
It's true.
I'm like, why?
Okay. I know you got to go, but I just want to throw this out there, even just for people in the comments to respond to.
Yeah.
But Dusk's ring pointing towards Fern doesn't make sense because they didn't know Fern existed.
I think it's linked to like Callaway blood.
Okay.
I don't know. I like a Callaway thing, and that she thinks she's tracking the Callaways, and like, okay, hang on, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
Which then makes me wonder the whole bandits, like her getting mugged. Was she really getting mugged, or are they in on a setup? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, damsel in distress.
I mean, I think it definitely was some sort of setup. Now, whether they were in on it or not, I don't know, but maybe she provoked it or something. But yeah, it's also possible that maybe she just tuned the ring to Fern after meeting her to make sure she could like keep an eye on her, and that just happened off screen or something. But I thought that was strange. So if anybody has any thoughts, let us know. But thumbnail.
I could do the ring, and you know, I could be like
moon touched crown.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. People are just like, these are the dumbest thumbnails.
Now, why do they do that?
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and enjoy the episode tonight.
Yep. Bye, everybody.